Alright, I'm gonna get a lot of flack for this one. I know it. I feel it in my bones. You know how old ladies can sometimes feel the rain coming in their bones? I get that with YouTube comments. It's a thing. Scientifically proven. Okay, here we go. I don't think The Elder Scrolls 6 is going to be on the Nintendo Switch. Are we good? Are we angry yet? Okay, just hear me out on this one. I want it to be on the Nintendo Switch. I don't have a bias against it or anything. I want to get the console myself. I'm gonna wait until it doesn't have that dead pixel and scratching it every time you put it into the charging port problem. But I do want to get the console. I think it's got a lot of upsides to it. And I'm just not convinced that it could handle something like The Elder Scrolls 6. And now you're sitting here saying, oh, but it's handling Breath of the Wild super well and fine and everything. Well, A, it's kind of not. When you have it even going at 900p on your TV, there have been widespread reports of it dropping below 30 frames, and that really sucks. I wish that game ran a bit better. Apparently, it runs better when you're using it on the portable version, because it runs at 720p instead, so obviously that's going to improve everything, considering that the entire console is in that handheld portable version. But it's really that's the biggest red flag for me for any newer giant open world games that aren't made by Nintendo or have a more simplistic art style to them to run properly on that console. Oh shit, I just called Zelda simple. Guys, seriously, calm down. What I mean is, Zelda Breath of the Wild looks really good. Like, it does. It looks impressive. But it's a very simple art style, and it's got very simple graphics to it. And many Nintendo games, even in the Zelda series, have historically done that, and they've looked great. They just haven't looked, technically impressive. It's no Gears of War, like, in that regard. And the reason for that is that, historically, Nintendo systems haven't been as powerful as the other consoles, and that's just a fact. The Wii wasn't as powerful, technically, as the PlayStation 4 or Xbox 360, and the Wii U was lacking as well, and part of that is because Nintendo generally releases consoles at a different rate than the other ones, so when they come out, they're usually a little bit behind, and Nintendo doesn't historically focus on making their games look the best possible. They are usually more focused on making their games fun. And to be honest, I would rather play a really fun game that doesn't quite look as good as the super high-def 4K resolution graphical game that only has like 2 hours of content in it. So on that side, it's super fine. But then we talk about games like anything in the Elder Scrolls series or Fallout, a game that's super big. It's a giant open world, it's got a lot of stuff going on, and even on the newest generation of consoles, and even on your PC and everything, if you got a half-decent one, it can still run into a lot of problems. And I feel that if Fallout 4, say, were released on the Nintendo Switch, it would suffer from a lot of frame rate drops. In fact, we've seen that already, like I said, with Breath of the Wild. When you have it docked into your TV and it's running at just 900p, people have been reporting that their game is dropping in frames. And like I said, that game, while it looks beautiful, it's not exactly the best looking game on the market, so it shouldn't really be doing that. So it's kind of a testament that the Nintendo Switch isn't going to be the most powerful, the biggest beastly console or PC competitor on the market, and because of that, I have a hard time believing that it's going to stack up when trying to run any game like that has to rely on a hell of a lot of stuff going on, a huge draw distance, and all this other stuff. Now, they're going to be releasing Skyrim for the Nintendo Switch, and we're going to see exactly how well it runs that, but keep in mind, Skyrim is at this point a 6-year-old game. It came out on the last generation of consoles. Of course, PCs weren't as powerful back then, and it did have some problems there, but hopefully on the Switch it's going to run really well, because if it doesn't run well there, then I really doubt that if they were to release The Elder Scrolls 6 on the Switch, that it would run properly without making some major sacrifices to things like graphical fidelity. And for the record, this is assuming that The Elder Scrolls 6 will in fact be released on the Nintendo Switch. We kinda know that's most likely not gonna happen, as Bethesda was talking last year that they were still a long ways off from that game. So this is assuming that, say, they announced it today. Could it stack up and could it work? And honestly, since Bethesda was also talking about doing some crazy experimental things with it, we don't know what that is. It could be all of Tamriel, it could be an entirely new engine built from the ground up or something like that. But if they were to do that, it just adds more stress onto a console that's already a little bit behind the times. So is it feasible for them to release anything like that on that console, and could they even make it work? And if they wanted to release it on that, then we'd probably see some downgrades over every platform as well. It's been a running thing that when a game gets released on console and PC, a lot of the time they have to abandon certain ideas or upgrades to it because they need to make it run properly on the console, and that doesn't translate as well over to PC, and it kind of holds the market back just a tad. And I'm not blaming consoles for this. They can only release one once every like 3 years or so it's not like they can continue upgrading them like you can a PC. It's just something that happens. But when you have a console that releases that's already not got as much going on under the hood as even the consoles that are a little bit older than it, then it does raise some extreme concerns that they could get certain games running properly. And I feel like a game like Fallout 4 or The Elder Scrolls 6 would have a really big problem trying to run at a decent, consistent frame rate. So what do you think about this? Am I an absolute idiot? You're probably going to call me an absolute idiot. Oh, that's fine. Get it out of your system, whatever. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and if you want to support me, 2 ways you can do that. VidMe tips are appreciated, as well as supporting me on Patreon. $1 would be super awesome. And if you haven't already, continue the discussion over on my Discord server. I am PattyJack, and I'll see you next time. Have a wonderful day.